Hey everyone, welcome to Camppatton Family Compound. It is Friday night on the Homestead, and tonight's topic. Oh, dang it, I got the slow curtain on there. Oh, people will be hungry or starving, but the shelves are full, and we're talking history on this, folks. So how's everybody doing out there tonight? There are a lot of people, I posted it in several different forums out and about. People, is this going to be political? No, here's the political part. It's not going to be political. All right. This is going to be historical data being provided and applying past lessons learned and forgotten by previous generations to today. All right. So first of all, let me get in here and to the chat and say hi to everybody here. So the first one in was the Patriot Prepper, and then Troop 1351, then Phelan Clan Wolf, then Hello Tofu, Shawnee Shave, and I'm going to pause right here for a second. Was that the one? No, there's the next one down where she posted it here. So this is it. She keeps thinking about how food prices are going to rise due to all the flooding and freezing and temperature crops. Temperature records and stuff. Crops being wiped out and no carryover. So yeah. Good point. And that's some of what we're going to be talking about too. All right, so let me scroll on down here. Next one in was Howie at Food Forest Permaculture. You want to learn about setting up a good garden? Howie's the man to see. All right. CR, Creative Redundancies. That's 2 from north of the border. Both Howie and CR are north of the border. And then we got Barrett's Storms, Radios, and Cats. And scrolling down here, everyone's talking. Good. I like PC people talking to each other, making friends. Adventures with Outdoor Eagle. Welcome, my friend. Steph, Idaho Garden Girl. Woohoo! And keep it up here. Keith Cronk, my buddy, how's it going? And let's see where we're going down here. Suzanne is in the house. And I froze. Tibor is in the house. And let's see here. Rachel Knight from Hawaii. Woohoo! That's something Rachel, I've been meaning to comment one of your, comment over with you or something. You guys didn't get affected by the polar vortex over there in Hawaii at all, did you? Yes or no or whatever. Maybe your temperatures went up. I don't know. I've for some reason I was spacing. I wasn't checking what temperatures were over in Alaska or in Hawaii or down in Puerto Rico. But yeah. All righty. So. Several things going on here right now. First of all, I have a special video clip to throw up here because of the day, and those that know me know why I'm going to be doing this. Those that before I do that, yes, I put the you got to be subscriber to comment. You got to be subscribed for 3 minutes to comment because of the trolls. Several channels have been getting hit. Mine started to get hit before I started putting it on here because all the trolls are stuck at home in their mommy's basements with nothing to do in the wintertime. So they troll YouTube and put out nasty things on people's chats. All right, so here is today's special video for today only. This ain't Camp Crystal Lake. We have fun here. And for those that don't know, there's a big joke behind that. My channel members are called campers. Camppatton Family Day. And for those that are new here, Camppatton is, my wife set up the name Camppatton for her email when my boys started into Cub Scouts. So Anyways, yes, campers, Camp Crystal Lake, and Halloween is the when I have the most fun, poking fun at all the goblins and ghouls. All righty, so let's get that. Oh man, 21 chats went through there. All right, let's see. Everyone's just talking to each other. Yeah, anybody new? No, nobody knew. Everyone's just talking. So Rachel said they did not get any change in the weather in Hawaii. Cool. And Jay's in the house, and Jay is saying, "It's Jason Day." Yeah. All righty. So tonight's topic, we tried to do it back over on my other channel, Gray Man Prepping. I happened to pick the election night to do it on, and there were internet problems here in Idaho, and people were complaining they were losing stuff, and missed most of the broadcast. And I was getting kicked out. Fortunately, I had some guests up here that were able to carry on and talk about a few things, but we didn't get everything out like I wanted to. This is a history lesson and advice live stream. Okay, so we're going to talk about history and point out things you can do. Yeah, exactly, CR. It's take two. Things you can do where you can thrive if we have another situation from back in the 1929 and through the 30s to 1940. All right, so let's go over here to the slideshow. I'm going to talk about a few things here. Come on. There it is. Okay, so back in, I'm not sure if YouTube's going to want me to say the two words about what was going on then in 1929, 30, 31, up to. Okay, there were a lot of soup kitchens and bread lines because people were not prepared. And so there was a lot, lot of stuff going on that was not good, and people were going hungry, and some people were starving, and it was really bad for a lot of people in the big cities. But my grandmother and her family my grandmother by then was in a big city, but on my mom's side, that is. But a lot of her brothers and sisters were still back on the ranch, and they did just fine because they'd been raising their food all along. But some people don't realize, froze again. Some people don't realize that there were big parties going on during this time because some people had invested wisely and did things right. And so there were big parties going on, big Hollywood bashes and stuff. But there were some non-Hollywood rich people that were still doing well because they had, like my grandmother did when she was living where she was, had a garden in her yard and grew a lot of food because she grew up that way on the farm. And Doris Artman's here. Anybody else slip in here? Okay, I'm just trying to keep half an eye on the side chat here. And so there were parties going on and stuff during this time period when a lot of people were suffering. The other thing that most people don't realize is the store shelves were stocked. Stores were full. These are actual pictures from 1930. Stores were full. In fact, some of these stores look better stocked than the ones today. And so there was a lot of misconception of what was going on, thinking that everybody was bad off when they weren't. Hey, Shady Hill Homestead. I mean, these stores. This is 1930 during the big event. And people thought that the stores were empty. That's why the people were going to soup kitchens. No, that's not the reason why they were going to soup kitchens. So, yeah, people were hungry and starving when the shelves were full. And there's the question, why? Well, one of the reasons why, historically speaking, hey, Kaylin Strain's in the house. Hey, Kaylin. A lot of things that depended on the people's mindsets before the event happened. Talking with my grandmother on my mom's side she was one of 15 kids. She had 14 brothers and sisters. None of them were in any of the line stuff. They all said they all had home gardens. They were all growing food, or they were still back on the ranch in northern Idaho, and they were doing fairly well. My grandmother was was a bookkeeper for several different little companies, and they needed to keep their books going and stuff. So she was working the entire time. She was in the right field. But she also had a garden going on during this time. And during this time frame, either just before or just after it started, she moved from Portland down to Glendale. That's Glendale, California, down by Los Angeles. And she said that, in certain areas of Los Angeles, there were food kitchen lines. Other areas, there's like, what's going on. And the areas where there were, in the more not compact city area of apartments, people were growing gardens. They had food. And one of the big things that people had a problem with was the fact that during the Roaring 20s, the party years, the Roaring 20s, that's why it was called the Roaring 20s, the parties. There was, all right, Tibor is posting a statistic here. Unemployment was at 25%. That's a lot. But that also means 75% of the people had jobs. And so the Roaring 20, a lot of people wound up living paycheck to paycheck and were partying, thinking, hey, we're on an upswing. Now, you got to go back to the beginning of the Roaring 20s. World War I ended in 1918. And during the end part of World War I, the economy was already on an upswing because of all the production and stuff for the war and everything else. So, and when everybody came home, that uptick, the mood just carried right on over, and the economy kept going up. And then things happened. We're not going to blame we're not going to blame any organizations, companies, political parties, nothing. But things started going up, and like it never had before, and it got out of people's hands. And some people were thinking, hey, this is never going to end. We're going to, and the Roaring 20s was a party time, and all that other stuff going on then. And when the bubble popped, a lot of big businesses had setbacks. There were layoffs. And then some of the other people that, some of the businesses that were just starting to move up and stuff folded, and people did not have a plan. Okay? And I was kind of hoping that Courtney and Bob and a few others would get up here, because they helped out the last time we tried to do this, but they had good information as well. All right, there's a political question aside. I'm going to say is Doris, no, I don't see that. Now, there is a lot, there's a lot of interesting stuff in the old history books that they've kind of been removing from current history books. So I don't want to get political in that, but you can go to the public libraries and look for some of the older history books, read what was going on. Now, my grandmother, growing up on the farm, they canned everything water bath. They didn't have pressure canners, and they canned everything water bath. Yeah, they had to spend 3 to 4 hours sometimes canning the meat, the vegetables, the green beans and stuff, because that's how long it takes to do it. Water bath. Hey, Mary Beth, how's it going? Elaine Brock, hey, welcome. I hope you enjoy this. And if you have any questions, ask questions. Capital block letters for questions, folks, please. Thank you. I'm going to try to keep up on the questions as well. And Tibor threw up another fact here, but there was less than 100 million in the whole country. It's over 3 or 4 times that today. Exactly. And then added to what, like, shoot, just forgot her name here. Back at the beginning. Who asked the question? Got to go back up to the beginning here, find the question again. Shawnee. Well, that wasn't a question, it's more of a statement. Hey, Stephanie, how's it going? Shawnee was saying about, worrying about what happened this winter with the polar vortex and now all the floods and stuff. I mean, California's getting, the San Francisco Bay Area, since Christmas, has gotten over 16 inches of rain. That's not just San Francisco, that's Oakland, San Jose, Sacramento, the Northern California there has gotten, a lot of rain. Yet the 2 biggest reservoirs are down around, I think, was it 23 and 24% full. That's it. But not going to talk about why. Just that's information for you to take in and go, Now, one of the things to consider is talking about, we've talked about this a lot about, the problems with the supply chain, and there are a lot of problems going on with other things, and I don't want to get too much into it because people may take that as being political. I don't want to get political on this. There are problems with not only food supply chains, but fuel supply chains, medical supply chains, and just general manufacturing in certain things. So one of the things I say on my other channel, Gray Man Prepping, when I end stuff is, stay happy no matter what life throws at you. Stay safe. Don't go out doing anything foolish. Keep adding to your preps: water, food, medicines, clothing, and skills. All right. And so that's kind of what we're talking about here. Learn the stuff that my grandparents and great-grandparents lived by. Grow a garden. Expand your garden. I know, I wish Courtney was up here so she could tell you how much she's expanding her garden in Ohio. Froze. Everybody in the side chat, if you have a garden and you're expanding it, say, are you, if you can guess, like, I'm expanding my garden 10%, I'm expanding my garden 20%, I'm doubling the size of my garden. Say something about in the side chat about what you are doing to increase, how much you're planning on increasing your garden this year. Now, one of the things that my wife and I have been doing since we got married back in 88 is we've been adding to our food storage. When my father passed away in 89, my mom gave my wife and I all of their freeze-dried food and all of their 5-gallon buckets of wheat. I think there were like 45-gallon buckets of wheat, plastic buckets of wheat. And so my wife, who grew up on an apricot orchard production system, was into gardening and everything else. And so we just, kept on adding stuff to it. It was part of the way we were brought up. I want a green screen garden. I'm just reading some of the chats here. Exactly. And Jay, yeah, even the 1890s, early 1900s, 1910s, same thing. And let's see anything. Yeah. All right, Patriot Preppers expanding about 20%. With deer come coyotes. Yeah. Okay, I'm just reading up some of the side chat, just trying to keep up on it looking for those golden nuggets to throw out here. All right, so Elaine is going from a 15 by 15 to a 30 by 50. Yes. Oh, grow in discarded bathtubs. Yes, and yes. Okay, basically she's making a bathtubs into raised planters. Great, absolutely awesome. Doris is saying trying to double their garden this year, trying to grow cold weather crops now. All right, for those of you that followed some of my stuff I did about when I did the indoor garden experiment last year, I went and changed everything around. I put some of the videos over on Gray Man Prepping to get some of the preppers to grow stuff indoors. So, yeah, I wish I had this much of a garden set up and ready to go, but I'm totally redoing the property. We got a big concrete driveway put in this year. We redid the patio, made it bigger, and then I brought in a whole bunch of topsoil from the farmlands around here, where the farmlands have been sold off and they're put in housing tracts, and they went and cleaned off a bunch of the topsoil. And I bought a bunch of it and building a garden area outside the back of the house here. A lot better. I have several raised planter beds out of IBC totes. But so I want to expand, but also need to get the soil going. And so I'm experimenting. But in my indoor garden, I was planning on doing a bunch of stuff. And then my wife came up. For those that don't know, my wife is still living in California. She's still working. She's not ready to retire. I'm retiring, trying to get the property up here in Idaho ready for when she comes up. The gardens are ready for her to hit the ground running. Everything's ready where she doesn't have to spend time setting stuff up. And so she comes up and do this, do that, and everything else. Well, she wants me to make a lot more trips this summer to California to bring more stuff up here. And when I make a bunch of trips, I can't really keep an eye on the garden up here because I'm gone for a week to 10 days each trip I go down. So I'm in the garden area I'm doing. I got 10 pounds of cover crop. So as soon as the spring thaw hits, I'm going to be putting that cover crop in, letting it, the peas and the alfalfa and the clover and stuff grow and everything else to energize the soil. And then I will turn it in, or as the case may be, I still need to get a couple of truckloads of farm topsoil in here to finish leveling off the area, and I'll just pour the soil right on over the cover crop so it can decompose and energize the soil, and I'll plant more cover crop on top of it. All right, Stephanie says, expanding a little bit, might put more than one raised bed, adding more containers. Yeah. And Patriot Prepper is doing a 4x4 grower's tent for hydroponics as well. CR is going to try more containers as well. And so one of the things that we need to think about, I'm spending too much time on gardening. I need to get off this and into some of the other stuff here. But in your gardening, hey, it's the Marshmallow Man, someone else who does a lot of gardening stuff up there, north of the border. So on the gardening, there are certain crops that produce a lot per square foot. And you got to plant the plants that you will eat. Courtney, White Family Farm, doesn't like raw tomatoes. However, if it's cooked into like a tomato sauce or a pasta sauce, she can eat it. She planted, I don't know how many tomato plants. She had scores of tomatoes last year, and she's part of the Shed Wars, which is hosted by Will It Grow and Homestead Aquarius, Robert at Homestead Aquarius. And they have two teams, and the teams try to grow as much and see who can grow the most food specifically. And it's Ron Netzel, the Green Wizard. Cool. All right. And so before so I'm gonna hurry up and get through some stuff. Then I'm gonna invite Ron up here in a minute if he wants to come up. So when you're doing your garden, you got to make sure you're growing get the most out of your space. Corn is not a good crop to grow for a small garden. If you have like 5 acres, like I got across the street, yeah, you can do a couple acres into corn and get some corn out of it. But one of the things like my wife does in California on our 3rd acre lot there in California, she got rid of all the lawn, front and backyard, no lawn. She has garden in both. She has a whole bunch of trees. That's the other thing. Plant fruit trees. Now, it takes a few years before them start producing good. So she has several different types of apple trees, oranges, lemons, peaches, nectarines, cherries. I know I'm forgetting a couple of the trees she has planted there. And then she grows artichokes, but her big producers, peas and squashes with zucchini, patty pans. She grows a lot of squash and stuff there. So, and what she grows, when she grows more than what she can eat, she goes and processes it, and she's got several chest freezers full of processed vegetables, blanched and frozen. So there's a lot of things you can do. Now, once you have all this produce coming in, what do you do with it? Well, this is canning time, dehydrating, freeze drying, anything to process it to give it a long life storage. I just finally got my mom's old Presto 21 quart pressure cooker fixed and working. Now I just got to get off the stick and get off my nervous nilly whatever and start canning. I've done water bath canning since I was a little kid. Pressure canning has always been, hey, I'm a big bad guy. As a deputy sheriff, as a federal agent, and pressure canning scares me. All right, I admit it. I'm afraid of pressure canning. And I know there's not supposed to be any pressure thing. Hey, Steve, Corsair Trainers. And F. Rose. All right, Stephanie says can and freeze and dehydrate. Cool. Can or dehydrate. And so there are a lot of different things that you can do. My wife was so busy, but she had a whole bunch down there to process stuff. Every time she comes up here, she brings up the big flats full of apples from the apple trees, oranges, lemons. And this last time she brought 2 big bags of reddish, full of seeds, not cranberries, pomegranates. She has a pomegranate tree that this year just went absolutely nuts. And so she had a lot of pomegranates, but because of the problems there with water supply in California, and them limiting how much people can use to water their gardens, a lot of them were splitting and stuff. So right now, though, she's trying to store as much water as she can for the summer. Stephanie says, planted fruit trees 6 years ago, got a decent crop this last summer. Yes, it takes a while. And Mary Beth is like, my pressure canner's still in the box. Yeah. All right. So So pressure canning. Do you have to do pressure canning? No. My grandmother never used a pressure canner. She water bathed everything. Her mother water bathed everything. Pressure canning, as far as canning goes, is relatively new. The Amish don't use pressure canners; they water bath. Yes, you have to stand over or keep an eye on your water bath. Make sure the water level stays up. You usually have a kettle of hot water heating up to add to it, and you refill it, heat that back up to keep the water at the proper level for water bathing. But that's in Europe. I'm not sure what the percentage is, but I know it's well over 85% in Europe that can water bath. And some countries in Europe don't allow pressure canning. You can't get a pressure canner over there. And Suzanne has a good point here. Some things store naturally well, squash, beans, apples. Yeah. And if you store the apples right, if you have a root cellar, you wrap them up in newspaper, put them in the flats, make sure there's air going between it. They last good. The squashes. What was it? My daughter grew a bunch the last 2 summers, and big old ones, and she's got them down in the basement. And the one from the 1 year, it went all the way through the spring into the summer. And she's like, oh, I better use these. I can have more coming in. And so they lasted almost a full year in her basement. Yeah, and for like water bathing meats and certain vegetables like green beans and stuff, you're looking at 3.5, 4 hours. But that's the way it's been done. And the problems arose when people started shortcutting it. Oh, I'm supposed to do this for 4 hours. I'm only going to do it for 3. Problems. Or 3.5. I'm only going to do it for 2.5. Problems. Yeah, exactly. I mean, other countries don't have pressure canners. But certain people are, and I don't want to get political here. It's a lot of people say that if it's not approved by a certain government organization, you can't use that to can. That's all I'm going to say on that. All right, I'm going to bring Ron up here. So Ron, I'm dropping the link here for you. Now, along with talking about canning, freeze drying, dehydrating, putting yourself on a budget is one of the hardest things for a lot of people nowadays. My daughter and sons, when they were going through high school, they didn't teach that. They stopped teaching home ec, and they stopped teaching, economics and doing a budget. And here he is, the Green Wizard himself. And so, there's a lot of things, pros. There's a lot more to being prepared than just storing food. You're preparing for life, as the Boy Scouts say. Garden, budget, food, water, clothing, skills, learning how to do stuff, how to grow a garden, how to fix your garden, right, Ron?
Absolutely.
And so, and Ron's the expert at fixing soil. But and I've got his book. I got the Kindle version. I made sure I hit the last page again. So you get
Well, I haven't gone in and looked to see if it credited it yet, but
yeah,
I'm a little busy.
So so if anybody buys his book on Kindle, make sure you go all the way through the end and flip through the blank pages at the end and hit the last page, and then give it it usually pops up over a review. Give it a review. Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm starting a new garden here, Ron. Where I brought a bunch of soil in from the farmlands where they're putting in housing tracts, and they took off the topsoil.
Okay.
And the main construction company also owns the biggest landscaping supply, so they strip it off, sell the topsoil back to the people. But so I got a like what I'm doing this spring. I was mentioning I'm going to put down a bunch of cover crop with the clover, the peas, the alfalfa, and other things to get the soil energized and going. And then I'm going to put another couple inches of soil over the top of that so that greenery can compost in there, and I can put more cover crop on it. So this year is all going to be prepping my soil for next year.
Okay, so make sure you grow your sunflowers to pull the heavy metals that are potentially in those soils out of those soils.
Courtney over at White Family Farm gave me, was on her live stream on Wednesday, was talking about some of the stuff she ordered from Baker Creek and from Johnny Seeds and M.I. Gardner. And I think it's called Short Stuff. It's sunflowers that get only about 2 to 3 feet tall, but they get big old heads on them. And so I ordered a pack of seeds of those, so I'm going to plant those out there amongst the cover crop as well. So they'll grow up over the cover crop, and then they'll pull stuff out, and then I can pull them out and dispose of the heavy metals from the that are in the stalks and stuff.
Well, there's another breed that has multiple sunflower heads.
Yeah, I have one here. That goes up, and it went up and it had about half a dozen that were about this big around, and then 2 big ones on the top.
Okay.
And so this is my 3rd year of growing those. I think it's Dave's Giant Wonder or something like that. But
now
I've been planting those along the back fence here.
That's one of those plants you want to move along or succession grow, so that it has the ability to pull the heavy metals and toxins out of the soil.
Yeah. And folks, if you're going to, when you're working on your garden, set a budget for it so you can get the proper seeds, amendments you need to add to it, the green sand, the gypsum if you need to add gypsum to it, the natural stuff, no processed artificial chemical crap.
Yeah, stay away from that. There's enough nitrogen available to just completely eliminate and stop even thinking on the NPK process. That's what's causing the problems with the soil to begin with.
Yeah. Well, you look at what the air is made up of. The biggest chemical in air, nitrogen, not oxygen. There's more nitrogen than oxygen in the air we breathe.
Right. Our problem is we're not sequestering it, or we don't have enough plants sequestering it back in the soil the way it should be.
Uh-huh. Okay, got a question here. What's green sand? Hang on, let me pull up green sand. You want to talk about the green sand for a minute while I pull it up?
Green sand is a mineral base additive that we can add to the soil. It's more so like an iodine rich, and I'm being really vague about it. But any amendment you add to the soil, green sand just happens to be one of them. It breaks down. It's not like regular sand. Okay. It's not like, having a sandy soil or a sandy loam, as they call it, which is really conducive to growing potatoes and those kind of things. But it's a mineral base that will, if the conditions are right and if the mycology is there, will actually be absorbed into the plants and release those minerals into the plants.
Yeah. This is the green sand I had saved on my Amazon page, but there are other companies where you get bigger bags of it. And then there's, this is one of the ones I learned from Ron in his book, and on the live streams I've had him up here on before. And this helps your soil produce more and better.
Any amendments.
Yeah. But just stay away from the chemicals like the super steroid, fix it up, Miracle Grow. No.
And now you're swearing. Now you're just swearing at me. Stop it.
Well, my friend that I've known her and her husband since I was a teenager, and she's about 8 years older than I am, and then anyways, she was the head of the horticulture department for Contra Costa County College District, and she you even mentioned that crap. And she goes off on her students. You will not use it. You will not mention it again.
Right.
It is that which shall not be named.
It's toxic. Ultimately, It's toxic. Creative redundance. One of the things I cover in my book, and I talk very heavily about it, is the use of salt. And I know you're instantly going to freeze at that point, but it's not table salt. Okay. It's from Epsom, England. Epsom salt, the same salt that they tell you to soak your feet in to detoxify the human body and what have you. That same salt, when applied directly to clay, will start changing that clay back into soil, back into dirt. Clay is nothing but overly compressed, and NPK process has a lot to do with that, but it's overly compressed, overly used topsoil that has been compressed down so that it has no volume for water, no volume for air, no volume for any living materials. When you start remineralizing it, a lot of plants, a lot of Mother Nature's plants, which we all call weeds, will start absorbing into those soils and breaking loose everything that is buried inside it. So when I hear somebody say, well, I can't grow anything, all I have is clay, they don't understand. Clay is topsoil. It just needs a little attention. Yeah. The lazy way about that is Epsom salt. By applying Epsom salt, and I'm not talking about going out there and pouring a whole bag in a mound and walking away and thinking it's going to do anything. It's too much. That's too concentrated. Throw it like you're salting a sidewalk. Just broadcast it by hand over top of the clay and put some other amendments on it. Put some leaves on it. Something that's going to attract the mycology to get back in there and get back to work. The worms will find their way through there. They'll make paths through that clay and start breaking it back up again. That's ultimately what you want, is Earth's rototiller. When we talk about, the no-till garden, we don't need to till because we have so many worms and we have so much going on with plant growth and root growth that it's all aerated. It doesn't need to be rototilled.
Yeah. One of the things that I also learned from you was about the dandelions love calcium poor soil. And that's what they do. They bring up their deep roots, bring up the calcium and stuff.
Correct.
And one of the things I tried out on the grass here, I got a couple bags of the gypsum, put it in my lawn feeder cart, and went out there and broadcasted it. And the number of dandelions I had last spring dropped off dramatically because there was a lot of fresh calcium being added.
So
however, the soil absorbed it, used it, and everything else. And then later on, I should have gone out with a second application halfway through summer, because then all of a sudden the dandelions started coming back again.
Right, because the seeds are still there.
Yeah. And the amount of calcium had gotten absorbed by the lawn, absorbed by the plants, and then they, all the other things, used up. So I needed to add a little bit more to it here.
Well, what you're doing is you're letting Mother Nature do all of your rototilling. You're letting all of those weeds. See, a lot of people think that weeds are detrimental. They're not. They're Mother Nature's way of repairing soil. Some of them we don't want in gardens, and that's why we turn the other direction, which you should have followed with your gypsum, was going in with, corn gluten. and blanketed everything with corn gluten to have killed all of those weed seeds.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to see if I can find some corn gluten at the local mill here if they have it this year. But the other year I went down there, they didn't have any; they were out.
Right. But if you look through the book, and I don't remember exactly which page it is, there's a page in there that lists big box store corn gluten availability, all the different names that it comes in.
Yeah. Hey, LA Prepper, how's it going? Old Ways Gardening and Prepping. Oh, by the way, Old Ways, congratulations. You won seeds from Garden State Gardener today on his January seed giveaway. Yeah, when working a garden, my son-in-law isn't. I'm not going to classify him. But he watches certain YouTube channels that promote laziness in gardening.
So do I.
No. I mean laziness. Oh, just throw some cardboard out there, and that's all you need to do to get the worms coming.
No.
You got to do a little bit more.
That's not true.
But I mean, his stuff. He put it this way: the crap he did over there, the garden has been going downhill, because he hasn't been taking care of it. And, my daughter, on the other hand, has her little section that she works. She gets out there and works with it and gets the Epsom salts and broadcasts a little bit of it. And he goes, "Why are you doing that?" She borrowed some of my gypsum, spread it out over there. "Why are you doing that?" And she had a lot better garden than he did.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, good times. And so, I've noticed the difference between his garden and her garden. She gets out there and waters. He gets out there and drizzles just a little water on each plant, and that's it. Not enough
at all.
Yeah. Well, the soil here over there needs to work to become a permaculture, to be able to do like Howie does, where he just doesn't have to water because he's got all the loam and everything built up, and he thinks that it's going to happen because he wants it to happen.
No, it's not. It's not a wish and it'll happen type of
exactly.
Scenario.
All right, good times. Thanks for stopping by. And that's the problem is he's more wish, less work. And a garden takes time to go out there. You got to harvest properly. You got to work your garden properly to get stuff out of it.
See, I have to break with you there, because if you're going to call it work and work a garden, you're doing something wrong.
Well,
Mother Nature's not about work. Mother Nature's about helping you.
Right.
When it's a team effort and you start utilizing Mother Nature, there is no work in it.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't use Mother Nature. He wishes.
Well, see, and that's where he's going to lose the battle every time.
Yeah. And so I tried to get him to because I cut down a bunch of trees that were some poplars that were having problems. So we cut them down, chopped them up, told him, "All right, we'll bury him here." He goes, No, I want to make biochar. And he made a big bonfire and burnt it to total ash. He didn't, making biochar is not just setting a big fire and let it burn to ash. You got to, that is a little bit of work. You got to, work with it and stuff to control it right. But,
one of the best
things, my son-in-law and my wife and I do not like him.
One of the best things that we all can do for our gardens this year, especially this time of year, is to go to your big box stores or your little handy Andes or whatever, and find biochar. Find charcoal. Charcoal is this really, really neat mineral substitute that works both as a water saver. It will store water, but it also absorbs minerals and makes them more readily available for your plants. So in other words, let's just say for a tomato that was already started, if you wanted to go down below that, one of the main things that you need is calcium. So you take your gypsum, or you take your seashells, or you take your eggshells, and you put them below that. Another thing that you want to put down there is half a corn stalk, because it will absorb water and store water for the plant. What you could also do, especially if you have clay soil, is line that with your charcoal, because that is going to absorb minerals out of the clay and make them more abundantly and readily available for those tomato plants that are growing above it.
Right. Yeah. When it comes to the garden stuff here, it's like my wife, when we got married, I started to put it in a small garden. She goes, "I'm going to take care of it." It's like, "Okay, honey, yes, dear, you take care of the garden." And I forgot a lot, because I'm just coming off from working my grandmother's garden about 4 blocks away, and she had an acre and a quarter there, and I was always helping in the garden there. And so basically, I wasn't working gardens. So, if you don't use a skill, you forget it.
Right.
So I had to relearn a lot of gardening stuff when I came up here. Now, when you say charcoal, people, he's not talking about the Kingsford charcoal briquettes.
No. Hardwood, old rustic, old style. It's charcoal. You could make it home. It has no chemical additives put into it to make it light better or anything along those lines. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about biochar.
Yeah. Now, we were talking the other night on one of the lives here about coconut char.
Coconut fibers. Oh, awesome stuff.
Yeah. And there was, see if I can find it here again. It got kicked out of my coconut char. Where is it? Coconut char. See if it'll just bring it up here now. That's what. Oh, there's very little coconut charcoal anymore on Amazon. They're small little packages. They used to have some 60-pound bags you could order, and they don't now.
Yeah, their crops probably aren't doing as well as they should be.
Yeah. But Bob 942. His wife is a Filipina, and they built a house over in the Philippines, and they just got back from spending Christmas and New Year's over there. And he said the amount of coconut over there is incredible, and it's free. Stuff's always falling, and they're like, people are throwing it away, and his wife and him are just gathering it up and putting it in where they want to grow a garden.
Oh, absolutely.
So
any and all waste like that can be utilized in a garden.
Oh, and of course, coffee grounds,
nitrogen builder.
Yep.
See,
and it's also coffee grounds are also good for. I'm trying to remember the plant. My wife has one, but it basically add it to it, and it gives more color to the flowers. And
right, it's pulling the nitrogen.
Yeah, and it also changes the acidity level a little bit for the plant.
Yeah, it balances the soils. Yeah, Mother Nature's got some incredible stuff going on. I cover a lot of it in my book.
And Glenn at How to Gardens in the house here now too. What is it? Oh, and he says, don't forget to charge your biochar before you use it. Yeah, so make sure you soak and get it all soaked up and full of water before you use it. Would biochar be at the garden center of Home Depot or Lowe's?
Again, it's what you're looking for. The easier form of it is lump charcoal. not necessarily biochar. You got to remember, a lot of places are saying everything is more expensive if it's organic. So because it says biochar on it, they're going to charge you more. You're just looking for regular hardwood lump charcoal.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, wash it out and get rid of the dust and all that stuff, but it's the lumps that you want.
Yeah. All right. Wayne, the ungrateful peasant, has a question for you. Would you recommend burning plants in raised beds at the end of the season and tilling back into the soil?
Burning them?
Yeah,
like after the harvest and what to do with those plants? Is that the question?
That's what it sounds like to me.
Other than sunflowers, and I would compost them. But yes, absolutely, put them right back in the same soil they came from, because all of those minerals that went into building that plant are still available in the plant's husk, in the remains of that plant. And by getting it back in the soil, you're releasing those minerals back into the soil. One of the things I talk about in the book, it's at the very end of the book when I talk about rebuilding a raised garden, is taking a lot of those plants and using them as cover. So cut them all down. Don't rototill. Don't pull the roots out. Don't even mess with the roots, and lay the dead plants on top, and then cover those, whether with alfalfa, straw, or leaves, or compost, or grass clippings, any number of things in the fall. And they will biodegrade over the winter and break back down into the soil. I don't necessarily. I understand that what the 175 degree burn is when they're trying to restore or reclaim plots of land without disturbing the soils. My problem with that is when you get into the 175 range, anything over composting temperatures, 160, what have you, you actually start detrimentally hurting your soil. There's life forms in that soil. Every inch holds millions and millions of life forms that are required for those plants. And as soon as you apply heat or hot water or the NPK process or any of these other things, you start killing off all those life forms so many inches down into the soil. And that's the whole goal, is to build up the top soil, not to burn it off. So to say to do a burn, it's how.
I know around here, the only thing they burn around here is the irrigation ditches. They don't want to burn the fields, because when they do a total burn like that, it actually increases the alkalinity of the soil.
Depending on
and we are on top of a lot of volcanic basalt around here. And so we have real alkali soil. Anyways, everyone's trying to, take it from a 9 or a 10 pH and bring it back to 7. So, they try to add a lot of wood fiber and stuff to the soil to try to bring it back more towards a 7. But
doing a burn is not going to help that.
No, it's not. It's just the opposite.
Burning your irrigation ditches is going to turn them, again, more into a clay base. So, yes, the water is going to run through there. But isn't the whole point of an irrigation ditch to allow water to absorb into the surrounding soil?
These are the main ditches, which run right along the edge of the roadway and stuff. And then they burn those, but where it goes off into the fields, they don't burn.
Okay. So they're causing a clayification effect.
Yeah, so they don't lose water.
But they're taking it to an alkaline level. They're actually increasing the alkalinity in those soils, which won't allow some plants to grow.
Yeah. And that's one of the things. But they figure, all right, we don't want to use sprays and poisons on this grass in the irrigation ditch, so we'll just burn it. And And so that's what they do. I say they're trying to keep away from the chemicals in the ditch, so they burn it instead.
Well, the reason, Bushcrafter, the reason I say it the way I'm saying it, and you're right, there is mycology after 170 degrees on up in the burning scale. There are certain life forms in there that are detrimental to a garden. And that's why we say when you're composting and what have you, you want to be in the 160 degree range. 168 is pushing it. That's dangerous. You're right there into turning it all to ash. So to avoid even, people mindset of being the lazy gardener or what have you, I'll just burn it. We try and say it in such a way that they avoid the burn or they avoid those higher temperatures and stay a little bit away from those to keep other life forms. But yes, you're right. There are life forms past 160, 168 that break things down, but they end up turning them acidic. They end up giving us a slightly different problem.
Hey, Moon, how's it going? All righty. Okay, it's 9 o'clock here, and I believe Courtney's going live on Wide Family Farm. And let's see, I think let me double check here. And come on, YouTube. Yeah, she's going live in about 3 minutes. And yeah, she sent me a notification. So, Ron, thank you for coming up. Everyone, check out his book, The Green Wizard's Guide. It's on Amazon. He prefers you get the hardback because Amazon's playing games with the soft copy, the Kindle version. So get the hard copy, and it's got pages in there, blank pages, so you make notes. You can go watch some of his videos where he gives away those secrets in his videos.
And I just did a video on organic nitrogen on my channel.
Yeah. All righty. And let's see, everyone's saying thank you. Okay, so coming up on Monday night, Monday night's going to be pretty much an open chat here on Camppatton Family Compound. We are going to be talking about the weight loss challenge, and hopefully we'll be able to get more people in for the weight loss challenge, where we can set up the 2 teams. The teams are to support each other and to give a little competition between Group A and Group B, so who's going to lose the most weight overall. We're not putting individuals against individuals. We're not doing that. We're making it a team effort, so everyone has support and everything for losing some weight. And some of us after the holidays need to lose a lot of weight. All right. So, and then Tuesday on Gray Man Prepping, my other channel, it's Gray Man with an A. Gray Man Prepping, the topic is if you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. And basically, this is sort of like a live stream response to Corsair Trainers Improve Your Position concept. So that's what we're going to be doing on Tuesday. All right, folks. Next Friday here is start laying out your garden, how you want to lay it out. So we're going to talk about companion plants and plants you do not want to plant next to other plants because they inhibit each other. So that's what's coming up here next Friday. Thank you, everyone, for coming in here. We're heading over to Wide Family Farm. That's WHYDE Family Farm. And it starts in a minute and a half here. So head on over there, and I'll see you over there, folks. Thank you for coming by. Thank you for all the comments in the side chat. And thank Ron for coming up here. See you later, folks.